As a criminologist, what has been the most disturbing or eye-opening revelation you've had about the human mind?
I think one of the most disturbing revelations I had was probably my early days as a criminologist when I was looking at violence amongst young men. And one of the things that became apparent, which also links to some of the work that I do around child sexual exploitation, was that individuals that were exploiting kids around drugs. There are a number of cases that we had reviewed where young males were sexually abusing other young males. And that was seen as punishment. That was seen as get back. And I guess as a black male, using black criminology as a lens to make sense of the things that was going on within my local community is a very taboo subject also. You know, when you let people know that these are the things that were being revealed, you also have to be very mindful in the communities that you're working, because the natural thing that most people do in the communities that I serve are going to deny and say it doesn't exist, that don't happen. You know, it's a bit of a stretch to say that those things are happening. But one of the revelations that for me was shocking was how frequent that these things were ultimately happening. And then having to work within the community with certain families where these things had happened, and how do you help and support a victim, essentially, when that victim doesn't want to go to the police, when that victim doesn't want to tell their story, when that victim is very conscious that if they tell somebody and it gets out into the local community, it potentially can bring other levels of shame and guilt and things of that nature. But it's interesting because the same thing happens with young women in our community, young black women in our community. When they're domestically abused, when they're sexually abused, it's almost like, again, this kind of weird taboo subject that within our community, we don't talk up against these things. But even deeper than that, the individuals within the community that many are aware of that behave like this, we don't hold them accountable. Because maybe the worry is because of our proximity within our local community, that if somebody was to find out, there's a level of danger that may come with that, especially if individuals that are domestically violent, those that are sexually abusing our young women in our community, because they're known, there is a worry or concern that something may happen to them. So for me, that's probably one of the biggest revelations, but also quite difficult with the team that we have, you know, supporting, you know, young people and their families to try and navigate that.